Hi everyone and welcome back. If you are new here then hello, my name is Zoe and this is my YouTube channel. Today I'm sharing my flawless long lasting base routine. It is going out season and all my clients at the moment, their main request is I want a good coverage and it needs to last all night. So today I'm going to go through my full base routine and share how to make it flawless and how to make it last all night or all day and into the night as well. You can do this routine and do these tips using anything that you've got at home, so you don't have to use what I'm using today. This will work for whatever you use at home. So if you're going on a night out, follow this base routine and I promise it will last all night. First step, we need to moisturise. So we need something for our foundation and our base products to stick to, that way it will last a lot longer. I've already done my skin routine this morning, so I'm just going to top it up with the Prep and Perfect. This is the vitamin enriched moisturiser from Primark and I like to use quite a bit. I'm super dry, so if you're more oily you may want to use less moisturiser, or you can just use the primer if you want to as well. For me, moisturisers work just as well, and I like a nice tacky base to start with. Usually I will do my skin prep like skincare, then do eyes and then do base. That is my preferred way to do it. If you are just starting your routine, do your skincare first, then do your eyes, and then your skin will be ready for makeup after you've finished your eyes. Okay, so I've given my moisturiser a chance to soak in. Now we've got a nice tacky base for the makeup to sit on. It's not gonna dry out or anything because this is really moisturising underneath. So moving on to foundation. Okay, so moving on to the key element of this makeup tutorial, foundation. I'm going to use the Born to Glow foundation today. You can use whatever foundation you like. I'm mixing warm vanilla and true beige together because I have done a tiny bit of tan. So the key part to building a flawless full coverage base and making it last a really long time is layering. So you want to start with a really thin layer. Even if you do want that full coverage, don't apply loads of product all at once. You want to really build up your layers. That way you can really push the foundation into the skin and build it up. So by the time you finish, it's not just like a heavy layer just sitting on top of your skin. That way it's going to move around. It's not going to last throughout the night. Now I prefer to use a beauty sponge, a damp one, because I feel like I can really push the different layers into the skin, whereas with a brush I find it quite hard like to layer with a brush. But honestly, there are no rules, so whatever you feel you're more comfortable using, use a brush or a sponge or even your fingers. Really spend time in buffing into the skin. I feel like the foundation is the key part of this routine, so spend most of your time on your foundation and everything else will come together. Okay, now I'm on layer 3. This is just going to make sure I've got the ultimate coverage that I want. You can apply even more if you want to. The longer that you spend like pressing it into the skin and building it up, the more you'll find you'll be able to build up the coverage. If you apply all your foundation all at once, one, it's going to be really hard to blend because there's going to be so much product on your skin. It makes it more hard work, and two, it's just going to sit on top of your skin and it's not going to set properly, and that is why your foundation tends to like move around and separate. Moving on to concealer, I'm going to use the Tarte Shape Tape today. Now the under eyes can be a little bit tricky because if you apply too much product underneath, that way throughout the night you can tend to get like quite creasy underneath. So the key is with the under eyes, you want like a nice full coverage, but you want to apply as little product as you can so it doesn't move around and it doesn't sink into any fine lines. So with concealer, apply your concealer as normal. I just do a little bit in the inner corner, maybe a little bit just to sharpen up my eyeshadow a little bit. So again, whatever concealer you're using, you want to let it sit there now until it starts to set. That way you'll get a lot of extra coverage without applying too much product. So I've let mine sit there for a little bit now and I'm going to start to blend it out. I do find this one sets quite quickly, so I kind of leave it until I can like feel it starting to set, and that's when I blend it out. That way I don't really have to go in with a second layer. You can do if you need to, but I'm quite dry underneath, so I don't like to apply too much because I can get a bit creasy, but I also want a really good coverage and a really flawless coverage underneath. So Again, whatever concealer you use, leave it to sit there. That way you'll get a really good coverage without applying too much, and you'll find it lasts a lot longer because you haven't applied too much product underneath your eyes. Okay, moving on to our next step, and if you don't do this already, then I would recommend using these products if you're going on a night out and you want a really long lasting makeup, and that is a cream bronzer and a cream blush. Cream bronzer I use all the time anyway, but a cream blush I only use like if I'm going on a night out and I want my makeup to last a really long time. I feel like powders like bronzers and blushes can wear off during the night, and save you having to top it up all the time. If you apply the same like colour products underneath as creams, it will make the powders pop on top and make them last a lot longer. So for cream bronzer, I'm using this from KVD Beauty. It's the Mod Con liquid bronzer, I think. It's in the shade Light Warm, and I'm just going to apply this everywhere I want to add a little bit of warmth. You want to use all your cream products as well before you use any of your powders. If you are a little bit more nervous of using cream products, then start with a really small amount and build them up. And when I'm blending this in, I'm just using the very end of my brush to kind of tickle the product and blend it, because we have applied a lot of foundation underneath today because we have gone for a really full coverage. So we don't want to disturb that. We want to keep it where it is. So this is just going to blend sort of on the top layer. If you're too forceful with it, you can start to move the foundation underneath, which we don't want. So we're just going to really lightly buff this into the top layer. So my bronzer layer is done. I'm going to use this eye base from Louise. This is in the shade Winter Rose. It's a really nice pink. And I'm going to use a similar colour to this as my powder blush. So I'm going to apply this first. These are like quite thick in consistency, so I'm warming it up on the back of my hand first, and I'm going to use my finger first to apply it because I feel like that helps it blend a little bit. But using a cream blush underneath is going to make your powder blush pop a little bit more. I would recommend, if you are wanting that really long lasting makeup, use a cream blush underneath too, because it does make a difference. And you can use your bronzer brush just to press that in and make sure everything sort of marries together. Okay, all our cream products are on. I love the coverage, I love how flawless it looks, but now is a really important time, and that is now time to set everything. You've done your makeup a bit more full coverage than usual because you're going on a night out and you really do want it to last a long time. I would recommend using a loose setting powder rather than just a pressed powder. My favourite one of all time is the Laura Mercier loose translucent powder, but I do like the, I got it here. I do also like this one. This is the RCMA No Colour Powder. So before we apply any powder now, I'm just going to go under my eyes, just make sure that I've blended out any creases because it's been sat there for like a few minutes while we've done bronzer and blush. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm happy with everything, mainly the under eyes, so it hasn't settled anywhere. I always set the under eyes first, and again I really press the powder into the skin. Now, because we have applied quite a lot of makeup underneath and like quite a lot of cream products, you'll probably find you need to apply more powder than you usually would, because not only is it going to set all the creams now, it's also going to help with like oil control a bit later on. I find if I'm doing more of a full coverage and I've used quite a lot of creams, I do get a little bit more shiny. I think that's just because I've got so much product on top of my skin. So this powder is also going to help later on through the night and soak up any like extra oils while you're dancing away and getting really hot and sweaty. And you'll be able to feel like how smooth and how soft it is, and that's definitely like set those areas now. It doesn't feel tacky at all. It'll be the only place that I apply the loose powder because I feel like the bronzer and the blush that we're going to apply is going to set the outer perimeter anyway, so it just helps not have that like super powdery look to your skin. We're going to move on to bronzer. I've just got this one from Primark. So this bronzer is now going to set like the outer perimeters where we haven't applied the loose powder. So I'm just going to press this onto the skin rather than buff it around, because we don't, again, want the product underneath to move around. We want this to just set it all perfectly in place. Again, you don't want to apply too much product at once. Just build it up as you go along. I think the longer that you take to apply your base products, the longer that they will last, because sometimes I feel like, especially like if I'm in a rush, I kind of just pile everything on really quickly and then it just doesn't last because I haven't spent time like really working the products in and setting everything properly. If you are more oily, you can use a little bit more translucent powder on the perimeter of your face if you need to, but because I am a bit more dry, for me doing this just sets those areas anyway. Okay, then we're also going to apply our powder blush on the top. This is going to go just everywhere we applied the cream one. I feel like blush is the main product that does wear off the quickest, so don't be afraid of just applying a tad bit more than you usually would. But again, I'm pressing onto the skin just because I don't want to move anything underneath. All these powders now that we're applying on the top is just going to sink straight into the creams underneath and just completely set them. And for blush, I'm using Milani's Luminoso. I don't know if I just actually said that or not. Okay, so when you press on to your skin now, it should feel completely set. It shouldn't feel tacky at all. If there are any tacky areas, go in with a little bit more of your translucent powder and just set those areas. Okay, so the very last thing that we're going to do is setting spray. Now there's loads of different setting sprays. I love loads of different ones. One of my all-time favourites is the Urban Decay All Nighter. I use that on my clients all the time. A setting spray now is just going to melt everything together and give you a bit more of like a fresh look. It's not going to look too powdery. It's going to take that powdery look away, because I think I'm looking a bit powdery just like in the centre. It's just going to bring everything to life, melt everything together, and make sure that our makeup does not move for the rest of the night. So this one is the Laura Mercier Translucent Pure Setting Spray Invisible Hydrating Setting Spray. So I'm going to give it a bit of a shake, and I'm not going to be shy with this. So just dry it off and then get your beauty sponge and just press everything together. Now this just finishes it off so nicely. Okay, so that is the finished look. It's really full coverage, it's super flawless, but it's also really long lasting. It's not going to move all night and it feels super comfortable as well. So I really hope that you did enjoy it. I hope that you found some of the tips helpful as well. Let me know if you did down in the comments. That completes today's makeup tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you did enjoy it. Let me know if you did down below. Please give it a big thumbs up as well, and don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week in my next one. Bye!